this beautiful article over on Wired.
Oh, beautiful.
Oh, it's Wired. It's so beautiful. And on the lines, of sanctions, on information wars, on all of this sort of thing, which we've sort of broadly covered in a few different instances so far. This is coming from Wired, and the headline is "The Spectacular Collapse of Putin's Disinformation Machinery." For decades now, Vladimir Putin has slowly, carefully, and stealthily curated online and offline networks of influence. These efforts have borne lucrative fruit, helping Russia become far more influential than a country so corrupt and institutionally fragile had any right to be. Kind of like the U.S. or...
I'm going
to try to keep those comments. In fact, I'm going to try we should both try to keep our comments.
Okay.
Save them for a little bit, because what that just showed you was a theme that is throughout this entire article. And I'll try to skip as much as I can, but it is just so good. The way that Wired is, talking about the disinformation, the influence, the corruption, the institutionally fragile Russia and Putin, and how they're so mean and, use different tactics to control information. And the whole time you're just like, okay, the U.S. does that. Okay, Facebook does that. Okay, the CIA does that. Okay, these are all things we do literally every day in this country.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. The Kremlin and its proxies had economic holdings across Europe and Africa that would shame some of the smaller 18th century empires. Okay. It had a vast network of useful idiots that it helped get elected and could count on for support. And it controlled much of the day-to-day narrative.
I'm getting triggered. Go ahead.
Day-to-day narrative in multiple countries through online disinformation. And many people had no idea. The day-to-day narrative in multiple countries. While a few big events like the U.S. 2016 election and the UK's Brexit helped bring this meddling to light, again, they are operating under the assumption that the Russian disinformation ruined our election, the Steele dossier, the Russiagate. They're not referring to it in any other terms. They're just saying, oh yeah, Russia. Many remained unaware or unwilling to accept that Putin's disinformation machine was influencing them on a wide range of issues. Small groups of determined activists tried to convince the world that the Kremlin had infiltrated and manipulated economies, politics, and psychology of much of the globe. These warnings were mostly met with silence or even ridicule. Really? Really? You think so? Okay. All that changed the moment Russia touched Ukrainian soil. Almost overnight, the Western world became overwhelmingly aware of the Kremlin's activities in these fields, shattering the illusions that allowed Putin's alternative, Kremlin-controlled information ecosystem to exist outside its borders. As a result, the sophisticated disinformation machinery Putin spent decades cultivating collapsed within days. Must not have been that impressive if it collapsed within days, but okay. Russia's network of influence was as complex as it was sprawling. The Kremlin has spent millions in terms of dollars and hours in Europe alone, nurturing and fostering the populist right, Italy, Hungary, and Slovenia, the far right in Austria, France, and Slovakia, and even the far left, Cyprus, Greece, and Germany. For years, elected politicians in these and other countries have been standing up for Russia's interests and defending Russia's transgressions, often peddling Putin's narratives in the process. Meanwhile, on televisions, computers, and mobile screens across the globe, Kremlin-run media such as RT, Sputnik, and a host of aligned blogs and, quote, news websites help spread an alternative view of the real world. An alternative is put in italics there. I'm assuming to make reference to alternative facts from the 2016 election. Though often marginal in terms of reach and of themselves, which with some notable exceptions, such as Sputnik Mundo. Oh my gosh, my brain is frying. They performed a key role in spreading disinformation to audiences in and outside of Russia. Yeah, sounds familiar. But the digital realm is where Russia found its most success. And it talks about how Russia caused the anti-vax movement. Russia caused QAnon. Russia, is responsible for conspiracy theorists, quacks, and pranksters. All these things already existed, but were the preserve of conspiracy theorists, quacks, and pranksters. Now millions believe in the face reality that climate change was made up by green extremists. Then they go into Bill Gates, George Soros, World Economic Forum are using vaccines to microchip people. And there's a satanic cabal of baby eaters in Washington.
Woo!
Or all of the above.
Yeah.
So what I love about this, again, as Wired is attempting to sort of deconstruct the Russian propaganda, as usual, they get it all wrong. I mean,
Really?
You talk about either they get it all wrong on accident because they haven't actually done their research and they're just parroting talking points that have been in the media for, years, or they're on purpose getting it wrong because they don't want to refer to the true theories that they can't disprove. So, climate change was made up by green extremists. Nobody thinks that. I mean, when you talk about even conspiracy theorists, they don't say, "Oh, climate change was made up by green extremists." No, it's being used as a financial tool to usher in a new version of economics and geopolitics. That has a constant and unbeatable enemy. And when I say that, I'm talking about the Great Reset, and things like it, by the World Economic Forum. And then they're talking about Bill Gates, George Soros, and the World Economic Forum using vaccines to microchip people. Come on. The microchip thing is a caricaturization that, the microchip theory is it's not even debunked. That's not the issue. It's that is not even the depth of the thing. It's not even a true representation of the theory. And then, of course, satanic cabal of baby eaters in Washington. Yeah, it's not just Washington, and they don't eat the whole baby. Come on, you know this.
They just drink the blood.
Yeah, it's just the blood. It's not the whole baby. Critically, the Kremlin seemed to understand that while our online worlds are a key part of us, we behave differently there because it taps into our magical thinking. It is real and unreal at the same time.
Yes.
We troll each other, scream at each other, and produce millions of hours of ever weirder porn. Okay, Wired, a weird thing to add in there. But I guess you're Wired. You have to be like edgy. All because that world is slightly unreal. Few of us would do any of those things, IRL, yet it is our real life. And the things we do online all have impacts, both positive and negative, on our psyche. The same holds true for disinformation. Our screens open up something akin to our spirituality. And from there, we can make wild leaps of faith as to what is and isn't real that translate from online to our offline thinking. Now, I do think this is the one paragraph which I do find compelling. I mean, it's crazy for Wired to be sort of talking in these terms, and with how poorly they've done with the rest of this article, I don't think this is very well done either. But they are realizing that there is true
consequence,
a true depth to the information online. Now, this idea that it is both real and unreal is I think they're completely wrong. I mean, at this point, what is it, 1999? Oh, the online world isn't the real world. No, everything that happens online is real, and nobody considers it not real. But,
you know, it does kind of redefine the word real in some sense, because, you know, a social media post really happened, but it didn't like really do anything in
it's
real.
No different. It's no different from, you know, I mean, I'm talking about the 1999 world where all of us kids were online playing games and chatting on AOL Messenger or whatever. And our parents were like, why you spend so much time on there? That's just an imaginary world. Yeah, and it's not like that anymore.
No, it wasn't like that then either, really.
The internet is the internet is the real world.
Yeah.
I mean,
or a reflection of it.
No, what I mean is there's no separation between the internet and the real world.
Yeah.
You know, but they are getting into this spirituality.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Idea. And from there, we can make wild leaps of faith. So we're going a little over time, so I'm going to kind of breeze through the rest of it. Long story short, they go through about 50 paragraphs of how, you know, Russia does things that are unforgivable, and yeah, of course, everybody else does it too. But I mean, come on, this is about Russia. We're virtue signaling about Russia.
The golden era for Putin's disinformation program is over. Wired has declared.
Exactly. And they do sum it up with this. Nothing can make up for the senseless loss of life and homes. But if there is anything to celebrate alongside the dogged determination of the Ukrainians in holding the Russian army back, it is this. Putin has himself put to rest the idea that he is some kind of infallible genius. After many decades spent building up his influence, he has entirely destroyed his credibility with politicians, business, and the broader public. In the end, Putin has achieved what no one thought possible: a Ukraine defiant, a West united, and a Russia humbled.
State-sponsored propaganda machinery.
Yeah, I love it. So I think they did a lot of building. I think the one example that really put the nail in the coffin is the fact that it has been proven, the evidence shows, the Steele dossier has been debunked. There are trials, legal things going on. Russiagate was a complete hoax. And hoax is not even the right word. Russiagate was a complete sort of propaganda plan. And look, this is not conspiracy theory. This is reported in mainstream news that was perpetrated and led by Hillary Clinton and her campaign as a way to fight against the Trump administration, which has been completely debunked, again, on mainstream news. This is not conspiracy theory. And yet they're saying that they're giving credit to Putin for things that he never did do. In order to sort of build this edifice that Putin was some sort of mastermind, but then destroyed it himself by his own doing, when in fact it is a coalition of pretty much every nation on earth, the most powerful politicians and companies and governments working together to dismantle his power. So it wasn't him whoopsie-daisy-ing. It was a concerted, dare I say, conspiracy by those who are holding to the tenets of this new world order that dismantled it. Not saying he's a good guy, not saying he's not a smart guy, not also saying that he's not a dumb guy. I'm just saying Wired's weird propaganda to make us think that he's a genius who who slipped in the shower, basically, is entertaining to read and can give a sense of victory to people who think that the world has been controlled by Russian disinformation, but is ultimately no more than sort of a feel-good puff piece.
I think it's weaponizing people. Mind control.
I think it is too.
Weapons.
And alongside the Meta allowing certain countries to speak death threats over another leader. I mean, come on, this is modern 2022, modern day radicalization taking place. I mean, it's straight
Absolutely.
up
Absolutely.
unbelievable. Yeah.
And anybody who says it isn't paying attention, or they are sucked into some.
They just look at history, recent history. It doesn't even have to be ancient history.
Absolutely.